schools and those who teach in them. We then moved, quite frankly and quickly, into what we came up with was 4 emergent realities. This is part of, in large measure, our hopeful vision. 1, a transformed learning ecology for students and teachers. Not just more personalized systems of learning that we can talk more about in just a few moments, and the 3D web environments that are on their way, already with us, the augmented reality that's changing the way kids are thinking and learning, but also how these new tools, the apps, we'll have an app for that too. We'll have an app for school-based accountability that can inform the public in ways that we've never imagined before. Emergent reality 1. Emergent reality 2, yes, as the learning day extends far beyond the 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. day, and the connections between what happens to kids learning during that time period and later becomes much more seamless. That teachers literally are prepared to work with the Google Learner, as Jennifer, Jose, and Carrie already are beginning to do so. But more importantly, that brick and mortar schools in the future, and the governor and I were just talking about this, will become even more important as technology advances to serve the kids that need to be served the most with the kinds of wraparound services and the interconnected relationships and the personal relationships that teachers and kids and parents and community members must have. Which turned us to emergent reality 3 when we recognized that no teacher, even as extraordinary as these 3 are, can do it all. And how teams of teachers would be assembled. And thank you, Arthur, because you really helped us think more and more about this concept. And how both pay systems would not be designed just to pay teachers more for learning growth on some standardized measure, but how pay systems would actually fuel and reward teachers who spread their expertise the most, teachers who get the kind of preparation that will allow them to teach effectively and work more effectively with a wide array of colleagues, both down the hall, across the street, in and outer cyberspace. And then finally, the concept that's got some people shaken up a little bit, and we're calling for 600,000 teacherpreneurs, teachers who actually stay with kids part of the day, part of the week, part of the year, never losing that connection to the real life of those children, but have time, space, geography, reward to sell and market their ideas, not just for capital gain, but yes, teachers will and teacherpreneurs will be the highest paid anybody in the school system by the year 2030. But more importantly, they will have both the system and support to drive change, not just down the hall, down the street, down across the state, but globally as well. We do speak clearly to how difficult it is to create this vision. We actually have a 13,000-word chapter on policy levers for change that it takes us from a public engagement campaign that is on par with what the federal government did to sell American people, that cigarette smoking was not good for their health, but one that would sell the American people on the complexity of teaching and what it takes to build the kind of profession that students deserve, to a school finance system that actually does not only reallocate and invest in new ways, but actually fuels the interdependent systems from K-12 higher ed, community-based organizations, as well as health and medical systems that will actually allow teachers to serve kids in the way they need to. Teacher education and license system that takes preparation seriously, not as fly-by-night, not as shortcut, but seriously about who gets to teach, when, where, and under what context, but also at the same time allowing multiple different types of folks enter and exit teaching in ways that are strategic and helpful for kids that they serve, to cultivating working conditions, not the rules and tools of 20th century bargaining, but the working conditions that really make high-need schools easy to staff schools, to reframing accountability systems where curriculum instruction lead the way and teachers themselves with their handhelds working with colleagues and policymakers to create a new frame for what counts and why and what needs to be done next. And then finally, calling for unions to be transformed into professional guilds, where actually the unions take seriously about who enters their field, who's allowed to teach, and they establish and enforce not only the standards in their field, but actually broker the teacherpreneurs, brokering opportunities for teacherpreneurs at the individual level, the team level, and not just the district level as they tend to do so now. We call for a variety of organizations. We just pick on a few here today. For the National Board to begin assessing for the teacher who can teach the Google learner, to administrators and reformers who can literally get beyond the current debates and blur the lines of distinction between those who teach in schools and those who lead them, to universities and districts to bundle their resources to create this new type of teacher education that's required for the 21st century and beyond, for government officials to close loopholes on who enters teaching and pay for performance systems that place a high value on spreading teaching expertise, to unions on insisting that their members meet high standards and pass performance metrics, and finally for teachers to join us at www.teaching2030.org to continue this conversation. And thanks to MetLife, we're taking these ideas very seriously and hopefully to a new level where clearly the vision for the future of this profession is as powerful as it needs to be so that children now and in the future get the services that they need. Thank you very much. So I think I did fairly well in my 15 minutes. And there's maybe only one slide left behind. But what I'd love to do right now, if you don't mind, is the real treat here, is just kind of turn it over to Carrie Cam, Jose Vilson, and Jennifer Barnett. And just a couple of quick words about these extraordinary teachers, and then a few questions to begin the conversation amongst all of us that will take us to the year 2030 in the ways that students deserve. First, and there's nice bios in your packet, but Carrie is an extraordinary teacher of about a half a dozen years who quickly became a mentor coach for the residency program in Chicago at the Academy for Urban School Leadership, a nationally board certified teacher, an EDD in curriculum and instruction, quite an extraordinary individual who actually is going to tell us a bit about Avery and why brick and mortar schools are going to be so important in the year 2030. Jose Vilson, who entered teaching through the Teaching Fellows Program. Jose is a computer science major who became an extraordinary math teacher and coach, a math coach in New York City. He's been teaching, again, for about a half a dozen years or so now. Jose teaches in Washington Heights, part of New York City, has a terrific blog himself, and is also a poet. He's going to tell you about Henry and the kinds of teachers that Henry needs in the system that needs to be developed. And then finally, Jennifer, and again, another extraordinary teacher. So proud to work with Jennifer as well, from Talladega, Alabama, a teacher of a year or two. She started when she was like 6 or 7 years of age, I think. But no, Jennifer is now a school-based technology specialist who still teaches children, by the way, as well as leading work with her peers, has won many innovation awards using project-based learning and new tools. And she will talk about Kaylee, who I'm proud to say actually, working at a high school, made a 7-point jump on her ACT. I will say in large measure, primarily because of the expertise that Jennifer has. So let's start with you, Jennifer, since I ended with you there on the introduction. And why don't you tell us a little bit about this new learning ecology that we've been talking about here for students and teachers, and Kaylee in particular. Start with Kaylee's story and about how technology helped you help her become the student that she can be.